Hey everybody, welcome back to the cabin. I'm going to give you a cabin tour today, something I have not done since I've finished. And really, because I just finished recently, the things that were outstanding to me, all the small details. So I started building this cabin in 2021, I think it was. I'll flash back, just show you some of the building process. But I have done sort of an exterior tour as I finished up some of the details earlier this summer. And now it's comfortable for two people for sure, my wife and I for sure, with that master bedroom. And if somebody was to move into this full time with a family, that loft would easily sleep at, let's say, 2 kids up there. And then we have a bunkie as well that people can sleep in. So it's 100% off-grid, self-sufficient homestead at this point. And I'll talk a little bit about the systems as we walk around inside so you know what I mean. Got a fire burning right here, just burning up some scrap wood, and just enjoying another typical morning here. Mid-August. It's hot out. It's quite warm and humid right now, but I don't know, it's beautiful. It's silent, completely silent, not even a wind today. So all I hear is geese honking back on the ponds and sandhill cranes. I haven't heard any wolves this morning, but that's often something I wake up to as well. So I'll take you inside right now, take a walk around, and ask me if you have any questions below. I definitely know there's a lot of questions about how the systems function. So I'll do it my best, but I'll also put links, or I'll give you a playlist to go back and look at how the entire cabin functions. As I finish each stage, I showed it to you on camera, including the outdoor kitchen and the cellar. So let's go back inside right now. So just to get an idea of the space, the cabin is 20 feet wide, the main log cabin part here. And then there's a 18 feet of depth from me to the back of the cabin, and then a 6-foot porch. So the overall dimension of the cabin itself, including porch, is 20 by 24. That's 480 square feet. And then I've got the 2 additions on either end, which I'll show you in a minute. So front door, it's actually not the door we use as our main entrance. It's just for going out to the fire or going out to the outhouse or to the porch here. But we have a mudroom on this end through the outdoor kitchen, so it's nice to come into an area that's protected from rain, that outdoor kitchen. And it's completely screened in for bug season. And then walking in through the mud, into the mudroom there, that's where we take off our boots and shoes. So this is sort of a secondary entrance, but it's a nice place to come out and sit with a coffee in the morning. Now the cabin's generally pretty dark because we like it that way, but I have a light on that I bought actually after all the complaints I had from people about not being able to see. It's too dark in the footage, which I understand. But it's not a light that we would use for our typically day-to-day living. And I'll talk more about lighting in a minute. Now when you walk in, if you come in this way, then you're stepping into the living area essentially. It's small, so everything's a living area. But this is the dining table here. I think it is, what, 6.5 feet long? I made that, I don't know, 3 years ago. It's got seating for 7 actually, so 3 chairs on this side, bench on that side, and then I bring up a chair on this end, especially depending on whether my wife and I or I are doing the cooking and the serving if we have company. So this is the bathroom right here. Small, still some settling, so this log is still going to come down a little bit, so this piece is adjustable right here. And as this drops down, it'll seal the space in here, but it's a pretty efficient little bathroom. It's kind of an afterthought, mainly for my wife and for any women that would maybe live here in the future. I like the outhouse. I prefer the outhouse for just going outside. But it's nice to be able to brush your teeth in here and shave. So nice little copper sink. This tap, I did not plumb this bathroom into the tote. There's a big 1,000-liter tank in the basement that I just fill with rainwater, and that's plumbed into the kitchen sink. And it's got a spigot down there, so you can take water from there to fill anything. But that's mainly just for like cleaning. And then we get our drinking water from the spring, which I'll show you. But like I said, this is because it's not plumbed in. There's just a bucket under here for water, and it drains outside with this composting toilet, which I'll show you. Just some flashbacks of me installing that composting toilet. Solids go into a bag inside the toilet system, and then the liquids drain out into the gravel and sand behind the cabin. This bathtub here, claw-footed bathtub, that is, again, it's just plumbed to drain outside, but I don't have it plumbed in for hot water. So we just do what we did in the old cabin in that old sauna, where we just have a bucket that we heat up on the wood stove, like a 5-gallon or 3.5-gallon pot. And you just take that into the tub with you. We have the battery-powered portable shower head. So that's it. It's got its own light switch in there, the light on the wall that sconce. And this bathroom is nice that it's close to the master bedroom. So this is actually the main entrance. So like I said, you come in from the outdoor kitchen here. And then instead of putting switches right here on the wall, what I did is I put them there in case you were entering from over there, or when you get up in the morning, you can come and get to that switch without coming here, especially if the floor got muddy or wet, especially with Cali coming in and out this way. So four switches? Yeah, 4 switches here. One for this room, one for the kitchen, one for the dining table area, and then that one for the outdoor kitchen out there. Full string lights, which really lights that space up pretty good. Now this mudroom, I'll show you in a second here. Try to bring the camera in, but you walk in here, obviously that's where all the coats hang. I'm just about to install a shelf up here for a few small things, gloves. Got the shelf up here, hooks there. So this being the entrance also allows you to go straight downstairs, especially from the outdoor kitchen if I'm processing an animal or something. I have my freezer directly below me, actually right here. Great big chest freezer that we keep all of our meat in. And then the stored goods, like all the canned goods, are along here. I'll take you down, and then I'll reflect back on the tour that I did of the basement of the cellar, the root cellar, because it's hasn't changed since then. But this is our ice box here too, to show you how that functions. And yeah, that's pretty simple. This is 8 by 10, so it's 8 feet long, or 8 feet wide, 10 feet long. And the whole purpose of this right from the beginning was to make it a breezeway into that outdoor kitchen, so that the outdoor kitchen could be built separate from the main cabin. And I'll take you out there a little bit, but I'm going to show you this living area here. So this is the heart of the home, as the fireplace usually is, and the kitchen. So the kitchen, you're standing in the kitchen right now. I'll turn the camera around in a minute. But this is where basically all the living happens. This area here, majority of the time is spent here. So these 2 small chairs, this one's usually my wife's and that's mine. We like to play crib and other card games here on this little table that I built. When my wife is not here, this is Callie's favorite chair. She steals this almost every night, lies up and curls up in here. She's quite comfortable here. But generally, especially in the winter when the wood stove's going full time, she finds it way too hot to be in this room really at all. So she likes to be close to us or close to me. So she'll lie on the floor there. But as soon as it gets too warm, she heads into the breezeway there and sleeps on that stone floor because it's a little bit cooler for her and it's closer to the door. That room is, because there's no central heating, right? So everything's heated by this in this main part of the cabin. So it gets cooler as you get further away from the stove. So the breezeway, especially at the door, is much cooler. Callie will lie right up against that door where there's a little bit of a breeze coming in there, a little bit of cool air under the door. So the way this cabin functions, the way it actually does maintain temperature, is that these logs are quite massive. So they're 14 to 10 on average. They're all harvested right from around the cabin. A couple of trees from literally right where the cabin's standing, or right directly around us. I hauled all these in, dried them, debarked them, and lifted them in place. If you didn't see any of that process, again, I'll just provide links in the description below for all the playlists that are relevant to this. But Yeah, big heavy logs that I had to lift in place with cable system that I set up. All of this cabin I built alone and using mostly hand tools, no heavy equipment to lift logs or anything. So it's just a lot of levers and pulleys and so on. These logs on the inside, I've put a little bit of a coating on them, linseed oil. Just I like the darker look, and also just helps the dust shed off a little bit more. We don't have much of a bug problem here, but there is some carpenter ants that came in with the logs. The problem is what I did is I cut these trees down, and a lot of them I left in place until I needed them. So they were back in the woods, or some of them, like probably half of them, were in a pile back here, but I hadn't debarked them yet. And when you don't debark them and it's still damp, the bugs like to get in between the bark and the wood, and they start to drill holes into them. So you'll see holes in these logs. So some of those bugs still existed as I built it and moved in here. So it's caused a bit of an issue. No, we don't have termites, or I don't have bad carpenter bees or anything. So ants is really our only issue, and it's not much of an issue. So I started saying the mass of these logs is what makes a log cabin efficient for heating and cooling. So 12 inch, let's say average, 12 times 1.4 is what, 16.8. So that's your maximum. So that's right where the wall's the thickest, right here. But as you taper down to the joint, you get much narrower. It's only 3, 4, 5 inches at this point. This is a full scribe log cabin. So contrary to the last one where I built, I had smaller logs and they just sat on top of each other. So it was basically zero. Right here, and then I just sealed it with mud or concrete. But in this case, full scribe means that it's meant to, or I scribed it and cut it out so it fits tight to this log underneath it. So that creates that 3 or 4 inch or 5 inch platform there, or flat spot. And then inside that, there's moss that I collected from around the property. So that moss provides our values through the airspace. Like the moss has a lot of air in it, air around the pieces. So that's why it's pretty good insulation. And then I have it sealed with a caulking. It's like a permachink caulking to keep the bugs out and the drafts out. So pretty efficient. But what happens is these heat up when you have the fire going, especially in the winter full time. They really heat up, and then they hold that heat for a long time after the fire's out even, and they slowly release it. So once you get it heated up, the cabin stays quite warm even when the fire's out. But if you leave it for a couple of days, they get cold, and then that cold radiates inside. So then you have to heat the cabin up, and it might take 24 hours or more of a really good fire going to really heat all of the mass up, all the mass that you see, and even furniture and so on. You have to heat that all up in order to get it comfortable again. We like it cool, though, for the most part, especially because you can always get close to the wood stove like this to get warm. I'm only sitting probably 6 feet from my feet to the wood stove, so it can get quite warm here. And as I said, as you get further away from it, it gets cooler. I'll show you how the wood stove works. This one is very efficient. We do prefer this one over the one we had in here before. That Flame View was a flat top cooking surface, which was nice, but it didn't have the oven. The oven is really handy, especially you've seen me cook a full-size turkey or a good-sized turkey in there. So we like that feature. We like that the elements on top, you can remove them. So you can put a pot or a kettle or a pan right over top of open flame, so it heats up much quicker. And then you just move them around. You learn to use a wood stove. Just you figure out where all the hot and cold spots are, and put a trivet on there if you need to really have a really low heat for simmering chaga, for example. So very efficient. And yeah, that's it for this space, I think. Got my bookshelf here, got my lamp for reading, although for the most part, because it's a fairly dark cabin and we have all kind of mood lighting, we do use headlamps a lot of the time for all tasks, like reading, for example. I'll just sit here with a headlamp on. Or if I get up in the morning, you'll see me leave the bedroom and go to the light switches with just a headlamp. So I think that's it for here. We got just a white pine plank flooring, 1x8 or 1x10, 1x8, and 1x8, 1x10. I think that's more like 9. This wall behind, store all our pans on there. Eventually, what I'd like to do is a full stone backdrop here, so that can capture and release more heat. Got the moose that I shot a couple of years ago up here. Deer in the bedroom that I shot here on this property 3 years ago, I think. Moose antlers that we found around the cabin. I always find them here. There's lots of moose here. Somebody sent me this painting of Dick Prenneke at his cabin. And a lot of these books were sent to me by people too, which I really appreciate. People have been so generous to me over the years. A little carving here that Doug Linker made. Yeah, anyway, that's it. I'll show you the kitchen now, which, like it says, right where you're standing. So this is it. This is the kitchen. Very efficient. Again, everything has to be efficient in a cabin this size. Like, you could easily have just left the cabin the way it is, this footprint, the 20 by 24 overall, and not had the master bedroom or, of course, the outdoor kitchen or that breezeway. So originally, that's what I built first, right? I built the cabin, and to make it fully livable, first of all, even though it gets quite hot up there in the loft with the fire going, especially in the winter when it's going full time, there is a window up there that I would keep cracked almost year round, lets that heat dissipate. And also in the winter or in the summer when it's warm out, by having that open, it's like a chimney effect where if I open the basement window, you kind of get that air getting drawn up, all the hot air goes out, and then it sucks up some of the colder air from down here. So you would, if like I said, if you didn't have these additions on here, this kitchen still would be this size, very functional. That would still be that size. Instead of a bathroom in here, could easily have just made that a small bedroom. I actually contemplated that instead of the master bedroom at one point. And that table, that kitchen table, seats, like I said, 7 now, but you could easily just reconfigure that or make it collapsible, or what do you call it? So just anyway, extendable, so you could just fold it down or put a leaf in it, that kind of table. So if you needed more space, but I don't see why you would. So if you did what I said about having that as a bedroom down here and just use the outhouse and an outdoor shower, or build a bathhouse like I did at the last place, then you could sleep in the loft and then have a couple of people or at least one person sleep down there. So the kitchen, back to this efficient design, I like to just keep open cupboards, because the thing about living in the woods, especially in a log cabin, natural materials, rough sawn lumber, no tongue and groove, is that you do get some gaps that inevitably get mice or even flying squirrels at some point. Before I got that soffit done this summer on the back, there was a flying squirrel that was caching all its food in the ceiling right above our heads where we're sleeping. So open shelves, I like that. That's really efficient. It's all we need. We've got the 4 plates, and we've got a couple of spares somewhere when we have company. Cooking stuff is like the pots and pans mostly are over there, with a couple here. Lots of mugs. Our water system. So these, I'll show you. Actually, I have to go collect water today, so I'll take you with us, or take you with me. I just fill these 1-gallon glass jars or glass jugs up with spring water, and then pour it in here. It doesn't need to be filtered. That water's been tested by the local hunters many times over the years. Very safe spring water. Very good tasting, lots of minerals in it. But I'll put it into here just as a precaution. So filter it again. And then, very simple. You see me using it all the time. Oh, Chaga. I've got Chaga back in stock after 4 years. Had, sold it up until 4 years ago. So it's wild harvested. It's the actual sclerotium that I harvest directly from the birch trees. It's not the stuff that, if you look online, you can find some cheap Chaga, and that's generally grown on, it's mycelium grown on grains or sawdust or something. It's not nearly as potent and healthy as for you. This wild stuff has a lot more. Well, petulic acid, for example, from the birch tree that you're not going to get in a lab-grown product. So we're proud to be able to offer this again. I'm glad that we have this back in the shop. So you can click on the link below and get that. There's powder, and chunks. And the powder, I just mix half a teaspoon directly in my cup, or more often what I'll do is grind some coffee up, make a cup of coffee, put the Chaga powder in there, half a teaspoon, mix that up, and then I'm getting all my antioxidants that way. And then the chunks, what I'll do, just throw a few in this kettle, or one of my kettles, and I just leave it on the stove. I just let it simmer. Don't boil it, but I let it simmer all day, for days actually, until it runs clear, and then it's done. So I can get a lot of servings out of just a few chunks from this bag. So the sclerotium is actually this. It's you got the black outer crust, which is really important. A lot of the antioxidants are in that, which you won't get in a commercial lab-grown product. Anyway, what else? So what was I saying? So I got my 4 drawers here, utensils, like herbs and spices and stuff, linens, food back here, the canned goods that I just want handy instead of having to go downstairs for them. The sink drains out into the meadow, and it's all just gray water, so it's not polluting anything. We don't use any products that are harsh, so that drains out there. This tap here, just pump it, and I get water, draws up. I've got a hose, I'll show you, it goes down into that 1,000-liter tank down into the cellar, right below us essentially. And both sinks, like I said, drain right out to the meadow. No, I guess I should shut that door. Got to be in here. The power system is right there. I've got 3 batteries, 15,000 watts. And the control panel right there as well. I think that's it. It's not much to show. It's a little kitchen. All the cooking is there, so it's very efficient. So just cut things up here, put them on the stove, take them back, grab a plate, go to the table. It's like that 3 steps to everything kind of rule in a well-designed kitchen. I guess I'll show you, just to give you a couple of flashbacks of the loft. Right now, all we have up there is the 2 mattresses that we've always had for now guests, but that's what we slept on. They're actually pretty comfortable, those little 4-inch foam mats or mattresses. So, but it's mostly storage, and all of our clothing is up there in that hope chest. Stuff that's not there in the bedroom in that cabinet. So before I go into the bedroom, I'll just show you here since we're right here. Now, because this is a small cabin, this staircase is quite steep. I contemplated making it a ladder, but I thought, well, why not just have wide treads on the ladder? So it's a steep staircase. Now, my wife really does not like it, doesn't like coming down here. I like this space. Like, it's a really cool space to me. So we're down, what, 7 feet, 6.5 feet, which is the other reason it needed to be steep. Got my full-size freezer right there. Got my stored canned goods here. Got the 1,000-gallon tote, 1,000-liter tote. Light switch right there. I got all my, like, survival food essentially there. It's enough food there to feed 4 people for a year. Pails of dried goods. And then there's the root cellar there that doesn't have any roots in it right now because it's not seasoned yet, but I'm starting to harvest potatoes, so they'll start going in there soon, and they last almost a year. And then a section over there that'll be doing some meat, prosciutto, and like cured pork. I'm probably going to do that this fall, and that'll be hung in that room back there because I have a fan that's on all the time that vents this space down here that goes outside. It's not on all the time, but frequently. Yeah, same thing. I'll just take you for a quick tour out here. Oh, hi, Cali. I'll be right out. This is the way I come in, like I said. Shoes just get put right there. I've shown you this in the past too, but I'll just show you quickly again how it's actually, how we use it. This top section is where the ice goes. Typically in the past, there's a drain there and that would have drained out. Instead of doing that, I'm finding it just a lot more efficient to just freeze these. So I'll freeze that, and I've got a couple more actually freezing right now, and some smaller 1 liter. So I just fill these up with spring water, keep them filled for the most part and just keep reusing it if I don't need the water, like if I have other containers full of water. So that actually gets frozen, put in here. That cold kind of falls down through the opening there and keeps this section cool enough. Things won't last quite as long as if you had electric refrigeration, but it works pretty good. I'm surprised how well it works. And in the winter especially, it's not too bad. This room is slightly colder than the main room. And then I can crack this window here and it keeps it even cooler here, especially because I don't mind the cold downstairs. So that window being open, the cold just drops really down there and cools this off a little bit. So the freezer's in the basement, but I also have a little solar. Well, it does charge by solar, but I'll show you the little cooler out there that we have. So the ice box is pretty standard. Eggs, of course, in here. Well, we have a very limited diet. If you watch me, you see what we're eating lately over the last few years. We mainly have meat in the freezer and then some preserved stuff like kimchi, which goes into here once it's done fermenting. That just keeps it cool, or we just put it in the basement and it just slows down the fermentation by putting it in a cold area. But we typically make it often enough in the summer that it doesn't have to be refrigerated long, and in the winter it goes into the cold cellar and it just stays pretty well dormant until we eat it. I'd already filmed a lot of this the other night, so you'll see change of clothes in some of the shots. So the lighting wasn't great, and this lens is a lot better, a lot wider. Very comfortable queen size bed. All these windows, in fact, it's getting low enough now. But yeah, it's more of the shot in here, so you can get a better sense of the size of the room. So roughly 15 by 15 is this space. 15 on the outside, I think. 15 by 15, 15 and a half. I really wasn't trying to get a specific size. I really just look at what I have. All my buildings are organic. I don't plan anything out really. So it was, the width was determined by the width of the original cabin, which was 18, minus the log thickness and everything else. So I had to go on the inside of those, the saddle joints. So I went on the inside of the log pieces that stick out the end, and that brought me in to that width. And then I thought, well, I want this size windows here and a queen size bed. So I went as deep as I could to achieve that. And then that allowed us to get this cabinet. So that's where all of our, it's an armoire, where all of our clothes are. And then have these windows with the lights right directly in front of them. And like I said, the queen size bed. This fireplace here, I've mentioned many times in the past, these open fireplaces are very inefficient. So you're just basically feeding it nonstop logs to keep it going and actually producing heat. So generally it's almost like a cold sink. So there's a damper in there that you just access from right here to shut it off. Like if there's no smoke being generated, no fire at all, I'll close that to stop cold air from coming down the chimney into the room. And then when it's operating, I just open that up and then just keep letting it burn. But we like to sleep cold, so it's not like we have that in here to keep us warm. It's almost just to get the chill out of the room. Or in the morning, it's nice to, I'll get up earlier than my wife and just get a quick fire going. It'll heat the space up, and then it makes it nicer to get out and get up and going and get over to the other stove to stoke that back up again. So we keep kindling here and firewood right here. This is a deer, like I said, I shot just a couple hundred yards back here 3 years ago. These are all operating windows, two, like a big bank right there, double opening. And then the two over there that I opened, so it gets nice and breezy in here. It never gets too hot because it's lower than the rest of the cabin, those two steps. And then, like I said, it's a pretty good breeze through here. We get the sun comes up there, so later in the season, or well, depending on the time of year, the sun comes up and can wake you up at least, which is where I always try to put a bedroom on the side facing southeast, ideally. So you get that morning light, and then in the evening light would be coming in the kitchen over there. So anything else to show you? Really just the writing desk here I can show you quickly. And that's where I do my editing and my writing. As you know, I've been doing a lot more writing lately. A lot of times what I'll do, I keep a daily journal. So I'll do that writing, but then I have to convert it to document either by just talking into my microphone and having it transcribed. That's my favorite way to do it now, because I don't like using a keyboard all the time and a mouse. I find that harder on the joints than any of the physical work that I do. But otherwise I just type it in there. So all my video editing gets done on that as well. Pretty efficient. I like to get the screen up high enough. That's why I use a separate, what do you call it, keyboard here. That's up high, so I'm not slouched over too much. I have to keep correcting my posture and keeping my head up at that screen. It's always hard with the lighting with the camera. I used to put, and I do have the light here. I should put it on more often, I guess. So light that actually sits on top of the camera to light the scene up directly. But it's a lot of contrast, right? Because the window and then the cabin's so dark. So you get that light-dark contrast, and it's hard to pick it up. So I've tried to correct that as much as possible for you guys. I know it's frustrating to watch sometimes. But I hope this helped. Hope it gave you a little bit more perspective to see what the cabin looks like and how it's lived in. It's very efficient space. Like I said, I love it. It's very efficient lifestyle to be able to have everything in one small space like this. But like I said, hope this gives you a little bit more perspective on how it's laid out and how efficient it is and what's lacking or not lacking.